What happened to Kane?
Something has attached itself to him. We have to get him to the infirmary right away.
Ash, are you kidding? This thing bled acid. Who knows what it's gonna do when it's dead?
I think it's safe to assume it isn't a zombie.
What's the matter? The food ain't that bad, baby.
Welcome, and on today's show, Casio have re-released an absolute icon, and I've got one to show you. But first, today's shot comes from none other than hang on, let me get this right, _ Alpha 3 AYEL. Now this is an incredible shot of those new metal Casios. This is the GMS 2100 on a rubber strap, and you gotta say it is such a stunning looking watch. 10 out of 10 for design,
3 out of 10 for legibility.
but it fits you so well, my friend, and thanks for tagging me in. If you'd like to be on the next Casio corner, all you gotta do, find me on Instagram here and tag me in on one of your Casio posts. Who knows? Next time, the star of the show could be you.
Casio, I love you, Casio.
A brilliant show for you today, and I bet you watch out. If it's a Casio show, I have got to wear one, haven't I? And this is the CA53W, the calculator watch. Still my favourite Casio of all time. The first watch I remember ever buying with my mum at a shop called Argos. At school, this made me cool and geeky at the same time. What an amazing digital...
A lot of buttons on the keypad.
Stunner! Right, why is this reissue so important, and why do I think this is Casio's best release of 2021? Well, let's go back to those heady days of the 1970s. The first actually released digital watch on the market was by a company called Pulsar in 1972. It wasn't until 2 years later that Casio, predominantly a typewriter and calculator making company, came up with their first digital watch, the Casiotron.
Megatron's little brother.
Them and every other watch brand, including the Swiss, were making these digital watches in metal cases. Even the likes of Amiga had a go at it. But in 1978, Casio did a game changer. They released the F100, and this was the first ever digital watch housed in a resin plastic case. This now meant that Casio could make pioneering digital watches for the masses at a very reasonable cost. Now we can see this as a double-edged sword, can't we? Because I give anything to have all my digital Casios in a stainless steel case. But this F100 was a little bit unusual. All the buttons were on the face and not on the sides. It's a very retro yet futuristic style of a watch, isn't it? Well, James Cameron thought so and used it in his film Alien. Now this film came out in 1979, absolutely huge box office hit about an alien with quite a few teeth,
With a drooling problem.
running amok, killing every spaceman he could see. I didn't see this film when it came out,
Because I wasn't born yet.
but even a few years after, my mum wouldn't let me watch it. I think I would have been scarred for life had I seen it at a young age. Anyway, in the film Alien, Sigourney Weaver, playing the character Ripley, wears not one, but two modified F100s in like an orange plastic shroud case. And that has given this F100 huge iconic status. Now to find one of these F100s in a decent condition is hard enough, but to pay for one, you are talking at least £300.
So, to my surprise,
This year, Casio re-released the F100, calling it the A100. Same looks and same functionality. They released a set of 4. A silvery shiny one, a goldy blingy one, and a deep dark graphite one with a negative display. They also, for some strange reason, have released a Pacman Edition.
now we know that the F100 came out in 1978, so Pacman must have come out at the same time. Let me get my phone. The release of Pacman was 1980.
No relationship between Pacman or Casio whatsoever, so I have no interest in this at all. Only that it's an A100 dressed in Pacman memorabilia and has a lovely etching of the Pacman maze etched on the bracelet. anyway. I managed to buy and get my hands on the silver variant, and I've got it here to show you today. Now, 1, am I gonna like this watch? And 2, do I think you should buy one? There's only one way to find out. Are you vintage Casio ready? Let's go! Now, I won't show you too much of the unboxing, just to say that this vintage reissue came in a white and beige affair, unlike the regular black box with the blue strip on. You know, to tell you this is an old boy, be careful. It's a bit like when men reach the age of 75 and they feel like they have to wear browns and beige from top to bottom. Anyway, here it is, the A100WE-1AEF. Rolls off the tongue. Such a retro looking, gorgeous piece. Completely different to all the Casios that I have in my collection at the minute. It's simple looking, but the balance on the face of this watch is so good. Those lovely shiny buttons on the face just want to be poked, and those little bars of colour remind me of the 60s Star Trek days, you know? It's quite a huey blue for Spock, then to the side of that we've got yellow for James T. Kirk. Bottom left we have red for Scotty, and green for whenever Captain Kirk wanted to dress up a bit with those gold cuffs, you know? So not having buttons on the sides of this case is a little bit strange to me. I'm a little bit uneasy about it, and unlike most of my Casios, it's not plainly obvious what these buttons do. It's not until you turn the watch around Casio have given you instructions on the case back.
More on operating later.
Quick spec check! So the case from top to bottom is just over 40mm. From left to right, it's 32.5mm. The thickness is just a smidgen over 9mm, and the lug width is 18. The weight of the whole watch comes in at just 53 grams. So the case is resin plastic and it's chrome plated. Casio lovers that own a lot of their watches will be used to this look and will also know that
They are scuffed monkeys.
yeah, they don't look shiny for long. They have scratches galore on them, fingerprints, snot, spit, everything shows up on the case. So be very careful with it. The glass protecting the screen is also resin, so you only have to knock it with a fingernail to get your first scratch. The bracelet, however, is stainless steel and one of their jingly jangly folded link affairs. I'm pretty familiar with this bracelet. In fact, I think it's exactly the same one that is attached to my A700. I like the look of it. It's very retro. It's brushed stainless steel, so doesn't really go with the watch head, but you gotta love their sliding clasp, haven't you? Stick a spring bar remover tool inside the little opening of that clasp, lift it up and slide that baby, and then push it down when you've found your perfect fit. The cheap links could pull some hairs,
But as I haven't reached puberty yet,
it's fine by me. I have got hair, just a bit see-through. Now, one thing I noticed about the case back is there are no screws in each corner. Pretty much all of my other Casios have 4 screws holding that case back together. But as you can see here, this is like a claspy clamp. Very unusual. I feel a little bit more confident with the 4 screws. Let's talk about the face.
Dial time.
Yes, Casio sure do know how to put multiple colours on a face with it still looking awesome. I love the water resistant logo in the top right. No showing off that massive
50 meters of water resistance.
pretty much a puddle splash. The text that's below the logo signifies what the digital screen is showing at different modes. The actual digital screen part of this watch is really tiny, isn't it? But below the screen is my favourite part. Recessed into that case, we have this black keypad with the 4 push buttons. It really does look like something from an old sci-fi movie, and I just think it looks absolutely superb. So powering this baby is probably one of the simplest modules I have in my collection. In fact, I wouldn't be surprised if this had more functionality. The quartz engine is a 3503, there's a 1/10 of a second stopwatch, hour maximum, a daily alarm, an auto calendar, and it's got an LED light. That is it. Anyway, let's get down to business and show you how to operate this thing.
Get your watch out.
So the bottom left button with the red bar next to it is our mode button. Press that once and we have our alarm. Push the top left set button and we can change that alarm. Moving on with the modes, we come to our stopwatch. Green means go and stop stops it, top left bluey huey one resets it. The final mode lets us change the time in the same way the alarm did. When we're back to our normal time mode, holding down the green button shows us the month, the date and the day of the week. Time for the light show. And it actually glows the same colour as the bar colour. The only disappointing thing is you can't keep that light on and it only stays on for about 1.5 seconds, which is a little annoying. But overall, a very easy to use digital watch that comes with
0 surprises. Hello.
On my 6.5-inch wrist, and this really does look good, doesn't it? If you can keep this nice shiny silver case shiny for long enough, the amount of reflections you get when you turn your wrist around, this watch looks really cool. I do like operating the watch as it's on the wrist, very simple to use. On my ideal digital watch, I still prefer the buttons to be on the sides of the case, but what a novelty. Super! I bought this silver version from Casio's own website for £49. The gold one and the graphite coloured one were out of stock and this was the only one I could get. Now I found the graphite one for sale right now for £69 and the gold one for around £65. I also found the Pacman version for £84. Now that is a lot of money for quite possibly the simplest module on a Casio, but value is in the eye of the beholder, isn't it? So is this A100 my new Casio beta, and is it more value for money than the other watches in my collection around that price? Well, let's first compare it with the old beauty, the F91W. Resin case and a resin strap, but what an iconic look. Exactly the same functionality as the A100, and I've forgotten what that backlight is like. Of course! So I think it is a superior watch to the F91, but not in terms of money maybe. Okay, what about its metal brother, the A158? So all the same functions and the crappy backlight in a shiny silver resin case, but with a stainless steel bracelet, which I think is actually the most comfortable, cheap Casio bracelet you can get. That watch is going for around £22. Okay, then what about the A168? The slightly beefed up A158, also with the chrome plating resin case and the silver stainless steel bracelet. Exactly the same functions as this A100, but has an amazing illuminating backlight that you can hold down for as long as you want. That's just £22. And finally, what about the A700? The new super thin cheap Casio. Same functions as the A100, plus you can change this watch to a 24-hour clock if you want. Same colour backlight, but you can hold that backlight for as long as you want. All of those watches, including the A100, has a battery life for around 3 years.
Depending on the amount of times you push the backlight.
But as we can see, the A100 is slightly too expensive when you look around at its Casio competitors. I paid £49, take £20 off that, and I think £30 is a very reasonable price for this watch. Casio have only brought out 4 versions of this watch. I'd love them to bring out another one, and I'd love it to be in that resin black case like the one that was issued in '78. I think that would be cool and a no-brainer. As Casio never miss a trick, I can definitely see a limited edition Ripley special. Talking about that, it was my birthday last week and I got another Casio A100 in the same colour and with a big help from subscriber Ben, who 3D printed a Ripley A100 housing case. I can recreate that double watch. So all I have to do is take off the bottom strap of one watch, the top strap part of another one, link it together with a little bit of NATO, resize the clasp, and voila! I've got my own Ripley watch. Now yes, I think this would look better with the darker graphite reference, but how cool is that? Now I can pretend to be Sigourney. Hang on. Here it is, my wife's first impressions of the A100. Oh, for f***'s sake, not another Casio. Yes, I didn't get much out of her in her first impressions, but after I told her about the fact that it starred in a movie, she started to like it a bit. As iconic watches go for Casio, this is one of their biggest. It was the watch that made digital affordable to everybody. And to have a reissue of one, I think is pretty sweet. I'd love to know your opinions of this watch in the comments below. Any excuse to buy a new Casio is awesome. From me, the Mad Watch Collector, I'll see you in a tick, 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 a tick.
Second, every hour, every minute of the day. Always end up being